In this video, we're finally going to be getting to something that I told you I was going to do 2 winters ago. I wanted to do this outdoors here with snow on the ground, but the snow has now all melted. So I got to do it inside the building here. I'm going to show you at least how I think this can be done, because I can't find anything on this. It probably was in the manual years ago, but I just haven't come across it yet. What I'm going to show you is evacuating a casualty using an Akhio sled. Now, when would you do this? It's winter time. You got deep snow on the ground. There's combat going on. You're going out doing patrols. You're going out doing assaults, doing raids. You're going to have casualties. Have 1 sled or 2 sleds, whatever you come up with that you think is the most realistic for the unit and the size of unit you have. Have at least 1, if not 2 sleds designated for casualty evacuation, or CASEVAC. C-A-S-E-V-A-C. CASEVAC. Those sleds should not haul anything else. They are designated only for the casualties. They must be ready at a moment's notice for getting a casualty off of the battlefield. So you don't want to be unpacking unpacking cases of ammo, cases of rations and that stuff so you can get the casualty in there. These need to be already set up, ready to go. You should have a 2-person team designated on each Akhio for this mission, and they will swap out, pulling the sled with the casualty in it. One of those people, at least one if not both, should be trained in emergency first aid, in combat lifesaver. Look it up. Basically, they're almost trained as good as a medic. I know medics are going to be in short supply, and they're going to be more needed right up at the front lines taking care of the casualties than wasting them by pulling casualties back to a company aid station or back to a link-up point to meet with an ambulance. So save your medics for other duties. Use other people for this. At least one of them must be trained in emergency first aid procedures. How to keep a person alive. Now, what happens? We got someone who's been hit. He's been pulled back to the casualty collection point for that area of the assault on this enemy outpost. At that casualty collection point, we'll probably have a medic. He's going to be doing the evaluation, determine who needs to get evacuated first, who can wait a little bit. You're going to have some sleds there. Now, when the casualty comes in, the team is going to open up the ropes on the cover on the sled. I just did the one here for show. Something I've been thinking about for these sleds, instead of using these ropes, maybe put on some type of strapping system going across where you can just hit a buckle on it, open the strap up quickly to get the casualty in and out. After you got the straps or ropes undone, open up the cover. Your sled should already be set up. You should have, down on the bottom, some type of sleeping mat. The old style foam sleeping mats will work great for this. Have it already set up down inside the Akhio. You should also have in here a waterproof bag with 2 wool blankets in it. Now, I know there's going to be veterans out there that are going to say, well, we didn't use wool blankets, we used sleeping bags for this. True. But in the military, you also have laundry facilities that can wash those sleeping bags. And you have larger stocks of extra sleeping bags. You're not going to have that in guerrilla operations, so you're better off going with wool blankets, which are easier to clean. So you got your bag here with 2 wool blankets. And I recommend you also have some type of bag in here with extra medical supplies. Rolls of gauze, field dressings, compression dressings, combat application tourniquets, cravats, gauze pads, medical tape, whatever you can fit inside these extra bags. I'm just using this one as an example. I'm sure you can get a hold of a nice big medic bag that'll work for this. Now, connected to the bag, you should have some type of lanyard. Piece of 550 cord with one end having a carabiner, and the other end should have some type of hook similar to this, maybe a little bit smaller, and I'll explain why. Now, the casualty comes over, you pull the stuff out of the Akhio, you set it next to the Akhio. You get the casualty inside the sled, get them laid down. Now, inside your bag here, I highly recommend, because I've been thinking about this, we're going to have to try to preserve heat on the casualty. The casualty is losing blood. Because they're losing blood, they're not going to have much circulation going on in the body. They're going to lose heat quicker. Now, and as I mentioned also, blanket's getting bloody. Well, how can we take care of that? Have at the top of your bag of medical supplies or in an outside pocket an emergency blanket, the Mylar blanket. Pull it out of the bag, open it up, put it over the casualty as the first layer. Then you pull out your wool blanket. You will need both of these. Get your wool blanket out and get it spread out over the casualty. Put both of them over the casualty, tuck them in around the sides of the casualty. Now, if the casualty is conscious, is able to fight, make sure that their arms are not blocked in by the blanket. Make sure the arms are on top of the blanket. If they are not able to fight, they are unconscious, or they're too injured that they're not able to fight, cover up their arms and that stuff with the blanket to help preserve heat. So, you're going to have the casualty on top of the mat, Mylar blanket, and then 2 wool blankets over the top. The Mylar blanket will reflect the heat back into the casualty that he's producing. Plus it will protect the wool blankets a little bit from soaking up blood. As the wool blankets get wet, get saturated, they lose their ability to retain heat. So you got multiple things going on here with this materials. Now, after the last blanket is on, it's secured around, tucked in around the casualty. That'll be when you come in and you put your canvas covered Akhio over the top of the blankets. Now, if the casualty can fight, his arms will have to be on the outside. You will then go through and you will strap the casualty in, either with the ropes or with the straps. Now, you're probably wondering what to do with the bags that were in here. The waterproof bag, you can just ball this up, put it up underneath the casualty's head for a little bit of padding. The bag with the additional medical supplies, just give you a little look inside what I threw together real fast. This bag can probably go down at the casualty's feet, and actually I would recommend you put the casualty's feet on top of the bag. And then you put the blankets over the top of the casualty's boots, on top of the casualty's feet. That way you're getting that blood flow going back into the core of the body. You're raising up the legs just a little bit, trying to treat for shock while you're evacuating the casualty. Now, so that's down there. You have your carabiner, and it should be a smaller one than this. This is just what I was able to grab quickly. You have the length of 550 cord on it. You would have your hook on the other end. Take this carabiner, attach it to the casualty's equipment, to his load-bearing equipment. If he does not have load-bearing equipment on, you might want to tie this, say, over the casualty's shoulder, around the neck, and then clip it back on itself as a giant sling. The other end with the hook. You have the casualty's weapon. Take that hook. Either put it through the carrying handle and then hook it back onto the 550 cord. If they do not have a carrying handle, probably run it through the trigger guard here, tack it back on itself, make sure it's down here behind the trigger, out of the way for the functioning of the trigger. Now if the casualty is conscious, they should maintain the weapon with this dummy cord on it so they don't lose it, and they should assist with providing some security while the casualty is moving out. If the casualty is unconscious, cannot provide security, cannot help out in any way, still go through, put on the dummy cord. But before you put the covers over the top of the blanket, tuck the weapon in with the barrel facing away from the casualty, face it towards their feet, and then put the cover over the top, and then the ropes, hook it up, and the casualty is ready to be evacuated. Now a note on the bag of medical supplies. This is for the medic to restock their aid bag. The mylar blankets that are in here are for use by the casualty evacuation team. The supplies inside here are primarily meant for the medic to replace what they're using from their medic bag, from their aid bag. But it's also here in case for some reason the casualty needs additional first aid. Let's say that the field dressing that's on it is leaking because it's not tight enough. You need to apply another one for a pressure dressing. Or the dressing that was stopping the bleeding on the arm is soaking through and you have to apply a tourniquet. Well, you reach in here, pull out a tourniquet and apply it quick. That's what I've been able to come up with for evacuating a casualty by Akhio sled. Well, let's hear some comments, see what you guys think. If you've actually been in the 6th Infantry Division or the Canadian Army, Norwegian, whatever, you've seen how casualties were evacuated in the middle of winter, let us know. I'm not looking for, well, we loaded them in the back of an ambulance and took them away. I'm talking about how you got them out of there during these improvised means, using an Akhio to get them back to a place that you could get them on a chopper, get them in an ambulance. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot and militia movements, always remember, essayons.